life changes and you change.
Yeah, but
I see Tom Brady, the greatest of all time, went from kind of like quiet, ho-hum dude, and then to what he became later on in his career is a totally different guy, you know? And so we'll see. And I mean, all in a good way. I just keep coming back to this team trying to put together the number one roster that they possibly can, and they got to get Trent Williams on board, and they got to be able to find a way to get Brandon Ayuk on board. And I've seen so many conflicting reports. If Trent takes a guaranteed contract, it makes it easier to bring Brandon Ayuk back. If Brandon Ayuk takes money in year 1 versus year 2, they can bring everybody back. I think they're just in a tough pickle here. I don't know how they're going to finagle the cap to be able to squeeze both of these guys in and get them both where they're happy and ready to go before week 1.
You know, we see teams be $100 million over the cap, and then they somehow, some way sign some players or whatnot. I don't know. I don't know how this is going to work out. I've always believed that you could front load a lot of money with Brandon Ayuk and really relieve the cap for this year, and then next year you get into it. But there's going to be players coming and going. I just want to get these guys on the field. That's all I want. As you're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM, and AC1 San Francisco and Odyssey Sports Station, always live on the free Odyssey app. In case you're just waking up, Trent Williams holding out. Brandon Ayuk holding in. Now, Trent Williams is going to make $23 million this season. 4th most for a left tackle. Andrew Thomas of the New York Giants going to make $23.5. Laramie Tunsil, Mr. Gas Mask with the Texans. He's number 2 on the list, making $25 million per year. And you get Penei Sewell with the Detroit Lions making $28 million. So Trent obviously wants to bump up. He wants to be the number 1 paid left tackle. That means something to him. That means something to players to be the highest paid at the position and take on that pressure. So the Niners apparently knew this. Shanahan mentioned it yesterday that they've been working on it. They knew this was a possibility, so they're hoping to get him in for a week. So I'm not going to freak out. Unless this gets to the middle of August and he's not in camp, then we got a different conversation. Like, I get it. Last year, I didn't freak out about Bosa. Say, man, if he just shows up 3 days before Pittsburgh, I didn't know Bosa was going to make all these excuses. That's what I didn't have baked into the equation. That happened, and that ticked me off. Trent Williams, I need him in camp just to be in shape because the ankle injuries pop up. You never know with Big Trent. He's 36 years old. He's getting older. He wears down. He didn't have the greatest Super Bowl, but he obviously wants to be paid Penei Sewell money this season, despite making $168 over the course of his career. So Trent Williams wants his money. Guess what? Then the 49ers better pay him his money because you can ill afford to not have this guy on the football team. That's the one guy who's got a lot of leverage on this football team. He holds the cards in this situation, Chasky. The player does. The Niners got to acquiesce to the player and say, you know what? Here you go, Big Trent, whether we like it or not. It's the truth.
I mean,
it's the truth. You want to go into the season without Big Trent?
No, of course you want Trent Williams. I just wonder, though. I really wonder, like, 2 things. The first point, your capologist is as important as your personnel department in this modern age. It really is. Being able to finagle these deals and rework them and move money around, it's probably one of the most important positions in the organization. Is it not?
It absolutely is.
All right. Second point. I just wonder out loud, who's the team? I'm not saying the Niners should do this. This is not what I'm saying. But who's the team that's going to play hardball with one of these guys and just not cave in?
Well, it's a dangerous game because if you don't cave in and you don't do right by the player, other players around the league are taking notice.
Well, Pittsburgh did that with Le'Veon Bell. I'm asking now, 5 years removed, has Pittsburgh's aura taken a hit because of that move specifically?
Well, they had a lot of mess. It ruined that core. Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, Ben Roethlisberger. No matter what you say, they played hardball.
Aged out.
Yeah, but they played hardball with Le'Veon Bell, who was carrying that offense, and their offense wasn't the same. It wasn't the same.
And nor was Le'Veon Bell.
Le'Veon Bell wasn't the same either, but they weren't the same. So if you want to play hardball with some of these players, feel free to do it. But just know that your team's going to take a hit.
Well, that's literally what Belichick is known. Belichick is known for playing hardball with all of his players. Not to this degree, because I feel like even in the last 5 years, this is like souped up to a whole nother level in terms of renegotiations and moving around the guarantee, or at least it's more public now than ever. I don't know. Who knows what it was behind the scenes. But like Belichick cut his teeth being ruthless. And it felt like they always got away with it because the main guy on board, Brady, right? It was always the guy at the front of the line saying, I'll quote unquote take less.
Yeah, he took a little less.
It kind of set the standard for everyone else out in the organization.
It helps when you got a bunch of endorsements and everything like that. You can build the team around them, so I get all that. But, there's something about – you have to give Howie Roseman and the Eagles credit. They got out in front of their contract extensions.
It's true.
They didn't wait on nobody else. They said, you know what, we're going to just take care of our players so we can avoid all this. And I think the 49ers in this situation, especially with Brandon Ayuk, and he was willing to get in front of it right after the Super Bowl before the receiver market exploded. Just do right by me. Get out in front of it. Well, they got in front of it with Chris McCaffrey. Got out in front of it with Joanne Jennings. You had the tenor out there for him. But getting out in front of it with Brandon Ayuk, oh, my gosh, now we're coming to camp and Trent Williams, okay, you want new money? We'll figure that out. Just come to camp and hold in. The way they've operated this offseason compared to Philadelphia, compared to Detroit, they all got out in front of these players, got out in front of these contract extensions, and got them done. Got them done. So now they're going into camp, and let's go. Let's get ready for a Super Bowl run. That's what they're thinking in Philadelphia.
But they paid their quarterback a couple of years ago.
They did.
Right? And then they also had two pretty big retirements, even though they weren't soaking up, hundreds of millions of dollars of the cap. Like when you lose Kelsey and you lose Fletcher Cox, that is a good chunk of money that gets freed up. I don't know. What's his face? Howie in general is a deal maker. Like
Howie
that's what
Roseman.
He's a deal maker. He'll swing deals for people in trades. He'll give them contract extensions. When he had the A.J. Brown deal worked up, they gave him an extension within seconds. Like they had it cooked up behind the scenes, but before it even came through. They operate different from the Niners. They just are. The Niners like to take it down to the last second.
And they had, do they not?
I'm just going off their history.
Not with Christian McCaffrey. Some of these guys. But, speaking of Brock Purdy.
A small deal.
Speaking of Brock Purdy, though, because everybody's worried about his deal. And I'm not going to do radio for the next 6 months talking about Brock Purdy's potential money. I can't do it. I'm sorry. I just want to play football. I'm going to see what he does, and we'll get to his contract when we get to his contract. That gets exhausting. What is Brock Purdy going to make? He's going to make $60 million. He's going to make $50 million. He's going to make a lot of money, folks. Newsflash, he's going to make a lot of money. What I'm interested in is how these players perceive Brock Purdy and how people are still doubting Brock Purdy. And that leads me to Aqib Talib. Aqib Talib took the year off. He had some personal issues, but now he's talking again. He was on with Kay Adams, and he's chirping again. Maybe he's going to do some broadcasting. He believes Brandon Ayuk is a really damn good wide receiver. A really good wide receiver. And he joined Willard and Dibbs. And by the way, they're getting all the good guests. Willard and Dibbs talking to Aqib Talib, explaining why he thinks Brandon Ayuk is a top 3 wide receiver.
I don't go off stats. So if you go off the stats, you got to pick the top 3 guys who got the best numbers and say those are the top 3 guys. But me being a cornerback and I guarded a ton of good receivers, I just go off how much problem would this guy present for a defense. And I think Ayuk is up there, man. He's going to present a lot of problems for anybody who lines up to guard him. He's going to present a lot of problems for him. So if I was creating a team, it'd probably be Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and if Ayuk ended up my third guy, or if he was my third guy on the board and Ayuk was there, I'll be just fine with that. So that's kind of what I meant by it.
I'm going to react to that on the other side as you're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMG FM and AC1 San Francisco and Odyssey Sports Station, always live on the free Odyssey app. More IU